is time. Yes, this is one of those videos. Time to call out some absolute BS when it comes to the Caitlin Clark narrative and the Caitlin Clark fans. And this surrounds Raven Johnson. But this is important. This isn't really about Raven. I'm not here to diss Raven here. We're going to talk about Mariah Rose, the epitome of privilege. Yes, the daughter of basketball star Jalen Rose never had to work for anything a day in her life, making a living, smearing people like Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark's fans. And we got to talk about it because some of this stuff is so over the top. But first, I want to address one quick question because I get this from time to time. People like, why don't you just ignore them? Why do you pay attention to these people? Well, a big reason is there's so much of it, and if it goes unanswered, what happens? People believe it. I mean, seriously, I don't even wanna get into a lot of specifics because I know so much of it does, come into politics, and then people start thinking assuming you support this or you're against that or whatever, but whether it's you or it's somebody if they don't really pay attention to the news much. Maybe they just get the mainstream stuff. Maybe they're ones that only really see headlines and sometimes the first paragraph of something or what have you. There's a lot of people who believe a lot of stuff that simply isn't true, that simply never happened. I'll give a recent example in sports. Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel and everything that's going on with them. The mainstream media is terrified to touch it. You will not see it on ESPN. Pat McAfee, super outspoken. Pat McAfee, unafraid to talk about anything. Never said a word about the Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel stuff. So that is why we call this out, because if not, these are the only people talking, the only people with a platform, and it's what people are listening to, and then they believe it. So we're going to dig in. We've got Mariah Rose, Mose, ready to smear Caitlin Clark fans flat out lying. That is the problem. We are going to call out the lies. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of your support. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 15,000 strong, although fewer than yesterday. Yesterday was a negative subscriber day. I don't understand you, YouTube. But anyway, let's dig in. Let's take a listen to Mariah because she's very worried about Raven Johnson.
Not be into basketball, but I'm gonna need you to get on your knees and send some prayers up for my girl Raven Johnson because she's in for a ride. My name is Mariah, and this is Hoops for Hotties, where I explain what's going on in the basketball world for the girls, the gays, the days, and the straight men who don't admit they're not actually watching basketball. And why the hell
She's talking women's basketball for the gays, yo. The hell does that even mean?
did they send my good sis to the Barstool Barbies? Oh my God. Context if you're not a basketball fan, Raven was one of the most underrated players in basketball this year, and she was drafted last night. Every little girl who plays basketball's dream to the Indiana Fever, one of the most popular organizations in the W. They're getting a bougie new facility. They've got Caitlin Clark, one of the most talented players in the W. Aaliyah Boston, another number one pick who went to South Carolina where Raven went. Like on paper, this is a perfect situation. In real life where we live, Raven publicly has said that because of the bullying she experienced from Caitlin Clark fans, she literally considered quitting basketball.
That is a flat out lie right there. And you cannot tell me that Mariah isn't doing on this on purpose because if she is this unbelievably effing stupid, she ought to just shut her mouth and sit down and let the adults handle these conversations because there is no way you got that from Raven Johnson. Yeah, maybe she's alluding to it, knowing that people are going to assume it, but it makes zero sense. And we're going to get into that in a second. We're going to listen to what Raven says, and then we'll tell Mariah, yeah, no, this isn't happening.
Watch this video.
And then another adversity would probably be Caitlin Clark.
And look at how far Caitlin Clark is playing off of Raven Johnson. Caitlin Clark, left side. She doesn't even look at her. Waves her hand as if to say, I don't care about you. I'm not defending you.
That's one reason I hate the internet now. Because of that situation, like I got bashed, I got bullied, I got called all these things that I wasn't, aka like a monkey or this, I don't know, like it was just things like that. And I just think I wanted to quit basketball at that time. And I wanted to just go in this little bubble of isolation and just be by myself And I think, I leaned on God. I had some wonderful teammates, wonderful people in my life, like I said, and they helped me find that light, and it put so much fuel to the fire to me to go back the next year, and we went undefeated and met that team again, and we beat them. So I think it was all God's will.
Raven is a very
Okay, first of all, God had nothing to do with you beating that team the next year. But here's what pisses me off. If you listen to that, again, this was right before the draft, too, which is why a lot of people were a little ticked off that 3 years later, she's worried about this. In no universe was it Caitlin Clark fans who were bullying Raven Johnson to the point where she was going to quit basketball. Why? Because there is zero reason to do so. Maybe if it was reversed, of the normal basketball fans, they might have a thing or two to say, but they're like, that's kind of, that's kind of part of the trash talk stuff that goes on the court. It's that psychological warfare. But there's zero reason for Caitlin Clark fans to be bullying Raven Johnson after Caitlin Clark waved her off like that. You know who did the bullying? You know who called her those things, Mariah? South Carolina fans. South Carolina fans who were kind of pissed off that that was allowed to happen when they were undefeated, expecting a title, and got smoked, BTA, by Caitlin Clark and her band of merry little women. Embarrassing. But it sure as hell didn't come from Caitlin Clark fans. You are a liar.
very joyful, bubbly girl. Like even after they lost in the championship, she was like, I'm being bubbly because this is just who I am, even if I'm hurt on the inside. And she couldn't even get that full smile out. I mean, you could just tell the energy. Everybody knew what the hell was going on. And after she was drafted to the Fever, they started a Twitter space to make fun of her. When the Fever announced that they drafted Raven, the comments in that post were crazy. If you think I'm being dramatic,
You're being dramatic. And by the way, did you notice there's no proof to that? No. Let me tell you. It's social media. There are people trashing everyone everywhere. If you look hard enough, you're going to find it. But the typical Caitlin Clark fan, not wasting their time on that.
Indiana Fever fans edit black women's faces onto the body of George Floyd whenever they don't like the way that they play against Caitlin Clark.
Again, flat out 100% lie. If you listen to the way she said it plural, as if this is a common thing done to every black woman in the WNBA. Flat out lie. You know where this came from? It might have eventually been deleted because I can't find it. This was that clown, Dejanay, the eye-poking Carrington, the one who tried to get an Uber driver arrested for saying that he attempted to kidnap her while she was live on her Instagram. Yeah, that Dejanay Carrington, a lot of credibility there. It was some troll, and I don't even think it's one with had like four followers or something like that. I think it was like legitimately a troll account where it says that in their bio, right? It trolls everybody, and it was specifically Dejanay Carrington, and I can't remember if it was after that first game where she did that whole, spasm nonsense, like Caitlin was having a seizure, or if it came after the eye poke. But I believe it was Caitlin Clark's face put on the cop and Dejanay's face put on George Floyd from a troll, and that was the only instance of which that happened. But if you listen to Mariah here, it's a commonplace. All the Caitlin Clark fans do it to all the black women who play against Caitlin Clark. Complete BS. And you can't tell me she doesn't know. You cannot tell me she is not lying and smearing Caitlin Clark fans, because I think Mariah, despite clearly having a bunch of it yourself, my friend, not a fan of the white people.
Yeah. My hope is Indiana Fever fans try to prove us wrong by embracing Raven and treating her very kindly and with lots of respect, and she has the best season of her life. That is my hope.
Guess what? That's what Fever fans do for every player that comes to Indiana. Even Dewana Bonner, who then shit all over the fans despite how good they were to her. We don't do it to prove shit to you because we don't care about you because you're a piece of crap. We do it because we're good people, unlike you, Mariah. Now, let me get a couple more things real quick. First of all, this was This was after the game, just or during the game, the preseason game. Just yeah, that's Caitlin and Raven there in the back. If I can hit play, that would be helpful. Yeah, they look upset with one another. But one other thing, and I've seen a lot of things like this. We've seen tons of tweets where they call Caitlin Clark a man. I saw one just yesterday talking about her Adam's apple and everything. We know media calling Caitlin Clark a school you know what. And this is not all that long ago. These are the type of people I'm arguing with. But y'all want Fever fans to feel bad for folks. Y'all do the same crap, make fun of her looks, call her racist. Do y'all see Cece crying and complaining, though? Y'all are hypocrites and bad for the sport. Yeah, you see this picture of Caitlin Clark? Hey, you guys, by the way, that's a reference to, hold on, I'll get it. Sloth from the Goonies. My groin is all better. Look at the image of that. How is that? Is that kind of like what you're talking about? Mariah Rose, you freaking liar. And by the way, sadly, again, I'm not taking a random person. She gets hundreds of thousands of views. She has a huge platform on TikTok. I want to say she has like 500,000 subscribers or something like that. This little clip alone, it doesn't have the views on here. I'm not a TikTok person, but it's got over 37,000 likes. Okay, this gets seen by a lot of people, man. A lot of people. And I, for one, am tired of it. So, yes, I am going to call this crap out when I see it. It's disgusting. She is disgusting. She needs to lose her credibility for this kind of nonsense. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for checking out the video. As always, smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel so we don't have another negative day. I truly appreciate that. And I will talk to you later.